Okay, guys, can we start the session? Am I audible to all of you? Can you just message me? Yeah, okay, perfect. So, guys, what I'll do is you have already attended my sessions on history. I know that most of you already covered the syllabus. So, this session, I'm basically planning to, go for a revision. What all important points that you are supposed to remember? There may be some extra points also, like when we discuss about various acts, there may be some extra points which are not that significant that I may not be discussing here. When I talk about the revision sessions, it's just the important points that you are not supposed to miss. Maybe if you can at least remember this, based on the options, you will be able to eliminate some of the answer options or choices which is given to you. That's the main idea. So I want to give you some most important points which has to be there in your mind when it comes to history. And today we will discuss around 40-45 minutes, and then next day also we will do that. So I'll let you know when we will conduct the session, so you can join me, and then we will try to do this exercise so that we can complete that history part, and then after that we can do polity also. So it will be helpful for you, so that you can use that experience, right? I've seen these types of questions which are repeating, so from which all areas they are asking question. Even in your objective paper, they used to ask some subjective questions, right? What is the meaning of liberty? What is the meaning of rule of law? What do you mean by natural justice? Even this concepts like rule of law, that is also very subjective. Okay, so we will be discussing that, but how can you make it objective? And those kinds of subjective questions, how you're going to answer objectively, that is a big challenge. But at the same time, it is easy also. Understand, guys, if you see a subjective question means there may be multiple options, answers which are possible. You may get 3, 4, 5, or maybe 10 such questions. These are actually easy questions. As soon as you realize that there is some element of subjectivity in the question, see the options, and you see some of the options like may, that you can pick as the answer. Most probably, these kinds of words, probable answer choices is what you need to pick, right? Some options, if you see must, should, etc., you should ignore that. We will be discussing that. So here we will try to cover all that areas, but predominantly from history chapter. Okay, history topic. So we will first start with, I'm not going to discuss this decline of Mughals, that you have to watch the class, because there is nothing much to discuss over there. This Jagirdari settlement or all those things. I'm also not going to discuss about the wars here, as we don't have enough time, right? Maratha War or Carnatic War or Anglo-Maratha, all these you need to see that either from the application or YouTube also it is there, or you have already attended the session, so you know that. So we will directly start with 1773 onwards, the Governor Generals. So when I discuss about history, mainly I discuss about history this 1773 to 1947 in terms of Governor General. So history or modern India, I'll teach and I have learned as history of Governor Generals. So what we do, we will try to cover the Governor Generals, and automatically you will be covering each and every event in the chronological order. That is how you're supposed to do, so that you won't make any mistakes also. So the first Governor General, when we start with Warren Hastings, governors were there. You know the three important presidencies, Bengal, Madras, right, and Bombay. These three presidencies before 1773 also governors were there. But in 1773, the governor of Bengal became Governor General of India through Regulating Act. That's why from 1773 I'm discussing, and I'm discussing it as a history of Governor Generals. Okay, so even before we need to start with Governor Generals, if you want to, we can quickly discuss about that Regulating Act of 1773. 1773 Regulating Act. You see Lakshmikant, you can see a lot of provisions. In the class also, I used to discuss few provisions. But here, I just want to tell you one or two important provisions, which again, you are not supposed to forget, right? What is the first one? First one, Governor of Bengal became Governor General of Bengal, not Governor General of India. That will be exactly after 60 years in 1833 Charter Act. So here, Governor became Governor General. Governor of Bengal became Governor General of Bengal. Okay. Others, Madras, governor, Bombay, governor. Now, guys, there is no such relative superiority or inferiority if you see in the internal matters. That means when it comes to Madras, when it comes to Bombay, Governor General of Bengal have no say. That means internal matters, they have complete control within their territory. But in case if there is some external matters, what do you mean by external matters? Like any peace treaty, right? Or any war related cases. In this situation, if there is a difference in opinion between governor of any one of this Madras and Bombay and the governor general, then the governor general will have a final say. Exactly what happened in case of Anglo-Maratha war. In fact, the governor of Bombay wanted to sign a treaty with Marathas and signed the treaty. Then Governor General of Bengal at that time, Warren Hastings, came to Bombay, annulled the treaty. When he went back, the governor of Bombay signed the treaty again and came back and annulled the treaty. And finally, the obviously final offers with the governor general of Bengal. Because in case of external matters, if there is a difference of opinion, his words will be final. So if you see superiority, is there a superiority? Yes, there is a superiority. Where? Specifically, if you ask where, that is in the external matters. But in general, if you ask superiority is there or not, when you see the word general, governor general and governor, yes. But specific external matters, not internal matters. Internal matters, they have their own area, they have their own control. Okay, so that confusion should not be there. You see that Lakshmikant or any other books, there may be some confusion for you. That's why I've just clarified it. So that was the first point. Governor of Bengal became Governor General of Bengal. Now, see that name itself, you can understand, Regulating Act. So who's going to regulate whom? It is the parliament going to regulate the company. How they're going to regulate the company? If you are giving complete control to the Governor General, the Governor General is appointed by whom? The company. So how can you regulate the company? It will be difficult. So Governor General is appointed by the company. That also very important point that you have to take down. Who's doing the appointment of Governor General? Not the crown, not the parliament. It is a company. The head of the company is the Governor General, the chairman or whatever it is, right? So the head of the company is the Governor General who will be appointed by the company only. So how can you regulate? You are going to regulate through a council. 4 members will be coming for the same purpose. And that 4 members, will it be appointed by the company? Then there is no regulation, right? They can do whatever they want. So that 4 members through whom the parliament or the crown is going to regulate the company will be appointed by the parliament only or the crown, right? So now I have made it clear who's appointing whom. The Governor General of Bengal is appointed by the company itself, head of the company, and the 4 members were appointed by the parliament. So the decisions are taken on the basis of majority. Now there are 5, so you have to get the majority. That means Governor General alone cannot do anything. That is how the regulation, guys. At least 2 members have, out of the 4, 2 members have to support. Then Governor General, it becomes 3. So 3 is the majority. But the problem that the Governor General faced during this time, I'll be discussing about that also later. That was this: these members were never ready to accept the Warren Hastings proposals. In fact, the reason is so interesting that these 4 members, when they landed India, they were not welcomed properly, and that created anger among them, and they were not, 3 out of these 4 gentlemen was never ready to follow Warren Hastings, and they were always against Warren Hastings in any opinion. So that created a lot of problem, and Warren Hastings struggled for implementing anything, and that problem will be solved later through Pitt's India Act 1784. I'll be discussing that. So I hope this much is clear. Governor General appointed by the company, and 4 members appointed by the crown. Who's the first Governor General? You need to definitely know the name. So Warren Hastings, I've told you that, the first Governor General. And these 4 members, guys, members are not important. Now it is 4. Later you will see 3. Then again you will see it is increased to 4 in Charter Act of 1833. And then this number keep on changing. So number is not important in the coming cases, but here it is important. 4 members. Also, these members' names are not important in the future cases, but members' names are important since it is for the first time. So please take a note of it. These 4 members, you may not find it in textbooks easily. So I don't know which textbooks you are reading. So you may not find it if you have not seen that. If you don't know about that, If you have already attended my session, you know that. If you don't know about that, take this name, 4 names: Richard Barwell, Philip Francis, George Monson, John Clavering. I repeat, Richard Barwell, Philip Francis, George Monson, and John Clavering. Why I'm focusing on this 4? Because these are for the first time. That's why it is important for us. Otherwise, it is not important. I'll just ignore them. So many, even some of the Governor Generals are also not important for us, right? So forget about these members. So I hope that part is clear, guys. Now we will start with Governor General. So first Governor General, Warren Hastings. Nothing much to discuss under Warren Hastings. Mains point of view, there may be questions like Warren Hastings period in history is known as trial and error period. Discuss, but we don't want to discuss mains points now. Okay, what happened, Nilu? You didn't get the name. Richard Barwell, Philip Francis, George Monson, John Clavering. They will give you in options. They can give you. There's a potential question, guys. That's why Richard Barwell, Philip Francis, George Monson, John Clavering. I don't have that iPad or pen to write now. So I hope that's clear. Okay, now when it comes to prelims point of view, we will focus on 2-3 important points here. Warren Hastings period in history is known as trial and error period because a lot of efforts have been done and a lot of new experiments were done. Because see, they started the administration, and if you need to do good administration, you need to have control over 2 things, most importantly. And they were very much desperate to control that 2 area. One is related to revenue. Without revenue, it is very difficult. The other is related to law and order. So in India, if you see, majority of the revenue is from where? Land revenue. They have not much idea about that. They have already industrialized and their revenue is mainly from manufacturing and everything. So land revenue, they have not much idea how to collect, who will collect. If you see in India, there were Jagirdari system, Zamindari system, different setups are there. So what to be followed? Who will collect it? Whether it is the Zamindar will collect or who will collect? You don't know whether you will appoint an official or a panchayat. Who will collect? From whom you will collect? See, in India, landowner may be X and the person who's cultivating may be Y. So from whom you will collect? How much? Whether it is in terms of percentage or fixed or based on the quality of the soil or based on the area of the land, no idea. So who will collect revenue? How much to be collected as revenue? From whom you will collect revenue? When? Before sowing or after cultivation? These are big questions. So they want to know that. In India, we had a system that was practiced by Mughals, Lagan, you know that. But British had not much idea. So they wanted to now do some experiments. And that experiments is what you're going to see later in terms of Zamindari settlement, Mahalwari settlement, and Ryotwari settlement. From there also, they will ask you questions. We'll briefly discuss that also. Okay, so guys, this is introductory session. That's why I'm going a little slow. Once we proceed further, I will go faster with all these topics. Okay, don't worry about that. So here, let's start that foundation and the base just to, get that beginning, and then we will go faster. Okay, so for that, you need to study India, right? Secondly, if you see law and order, again, when it comes to India, see, they have not much idea about legal system, right? Hindus follow some law, Muslims follow some different law. So especially in case of civil cases, you know what's the difference between criminal cases and civil cases, right? Criminal cases, the laws were almost same. It was followed by the Mughals, partly Islamic and partly local, the laws which was set by Mughals actually. Okay, so criminal cases, it was almost same, no problem. But in civil cases, the laws are totally different, right? In fact, both in contradictory and polar opposites. If you see Muslims and Hindus, they follow Manusmriti, and Muslims, they follow Quran and Hadith and Sharia law, right? So whether it is related to, what is civil cases? Cases like marriage, divorce, property, adoption, all these were entirely different. Let's not discuss about that laws because that anyway you are not going to expect in your prelims. Mains or some other cases, if you need to write, we can do that later. So they've decided to study India, and this is the context. This is how they have decided to study. So how are you going to study? You go to the religious textbooks, archaeological excavation, the travelogues, and all this. This is what known as Indology. So Indology literally means study of India. So a new branch of knowledge came. I hope you understand the context. That is Indology. It means study of India. How? Read and refer the previous textbooks, which was in Sanskrit and Arabic, and you will translate it to your own language. That is how you're going to do that. And the first such translation was happened in 1776. Manusmriti was translated to Code of Jendu Laws, Jendu Code. This was a previous year question. So 1776, what is Jendu Code, Code of Jendu Law? Translation of Manusmriti. Okay, 1781. This was also a question, I think, last year. Calcutta Madrasa was established, which is for Islamic studies, to know about Muslim setup and everything. 1784. Guys, please take down along with me these important points only that you can refer also later, whether it is internet or the textbooks, Spectrum, or 2 books is enough. If you're following Spectrum, that's perfectly fine. And I used to follow this one also, TMH Muhammad Tariq Khan. That is also a good one. Very small book, 2 days you can read and finish it off. NCRT and all, that's of no use if you're having a good mentor and a teacher who's explaining things in a good way. You have attended the classes, then there is no NCRT. NCRT is for starting, the basics. If you have not good classes or anything, then it is okay, because that's where you build the base. You have Spectrum, then there is no point in reading NCRT. Okay, so again, it's your choice. I'm just telling you my opinion and my idea about this. Calcutta Madrasa, 1781. Next is 1784, Asiatic Society of Bengal. Asiatic Society of Bengal, which was established by William John for Oriental studies. Oriental studies means study of East, especially study of India or Eastern societies. Oriental studies, Oriental science, Oriental studies. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So these are the 3 things that I need to discuss, which is related to Indology. There are many other things, books and all, but I don't think that they will ask you. In case if they're asking, that's not your day. You have to take it in that way, because it is impossible for you to study all these Indological sources, right? That's not required. These are what I've seen before. That's the reason why I've discussed. These 3 I've seen. Asiatic Society of Bengal, they have asked. And Calcutta Madrasa, they have asked. Jendu Code, Code of Jendu Laws also they have asked. Okay, and again, I've told you trial and error period. Let's not get into the details of it. He have also done one experiment with respect to land revenue. That is known as quinquennial settlement. That's a 5-year settlement that he started. It's almost similar to Zamindari setup, but there is a small difference. It's like you will be giving right to collect the revenue to a Zamindar. How the Zamindar is selected? Through an auction process. So that there will be a bidding process, and you will be selecting a Zamindar, and he will be given right to collect revenue for 5 years. And if you're not giving in 5 years, the land will be taken away and will be given it to some others. So the problem is, during the bidding process, they will quote high amount, and the state is expecting that, but the Zamindar will never pay that, because there is no punishment. You violate this, you will lose the Zamindarship. So 5 years you will enjoy and you will get whatever you want, and state won't get anything. At the same time, peasant will be exploited. Zamindar will keep on becoming rich and rich and rich. And then they have changed it from 5 years to 1 year. But the root problem, the root cause remain the same. What is the root cause? The bidding process. While bidding, you will quote unrealistic amount. That is not possible. To overcome this, you will see first better setup. That is permanent settlement. There are a lot of problems with that. We'll discuss that under Cornwallis. And one more interesting fact, Warren Hastings was the only Governor General who was accused for a murder case. There was a Bengali trader. His name was Nandakumar. And he accused Warren Hastings in a corruption case. And later, this guy was hanged in a fabricated case. And Warren Hastings was tried in that case, but lack of evidence and all, he was left free. Okay, so that's about Warren Hastings. There is nothing much to discuss from prelims perspective. That 3 cases, that Calcutta Madrasa, Asiatic Society of Bengal, and Code of Jendu Laws. This is what I wanted to discuss. And the Regulating Act. Guys, just look into the Regulating Act from Lakshmikant. You will see around 10, 12 points. This is the most important one. One more, if you want, I can tell, that is, there was a Supreme Court which was established, or there was a provision for a Supreme Court. A Supreme Court has to be established, and this Supreme Court is not the modern day Supreme Court. That is different. That will be discussed in 1935 Government of India Act, but this Supreme Court is only for the trial of Europeans. As I've told you, when they came to India, for them, the Indian legal system is very traditional, very orthodox, and they don't want their case to be tried in Indian law. So this Supreme Court is only for the trial of Europeans. And where it is established? In Calcutta. When? 1774. Remember the year? Act is in 73. Supreme Court has to be established at Calcutta, 1774, next year. Only for the trial of Europeans, not for Indians. Indians, Indian law, there are different courts. Okay, so this is only for the trial of Europeans, and never be confused the Supreme Court as the modern day Supreme Court. That is from 1935 Government of India. Guys, I'm expecting that this much is clear for all of you, but other points that you have to look into the classes and you have to refer to the textbooks and you have to cover. This is just a, what do you say, trailer or revision, right? Okay, next is Lord Cornwallis. So if you see Cornwallis, very important from prelims perspective, 3 or 4 points that I need to discuss is mainly, you see, police reform is there, very important. Civil service reform, both were asked as questions, and then judicial reform. Questions can be asked, even in polity also connected to this question can be asked, and then there is a revenue settlement, zamindari settlement. So Warren Hastings we have done. Now we will move to Cornwallis. Okay, the first one that we can discuss is related to civil service reform. That's the easiest one. There is nothing much to discuss. The question which was asked in 2014, who is the father of civil service? Right, Cornwallis. It's done. There is nothing more. But these days, rarely out of 100, you hardly get 7, 8, or maximum 10 question one-liner. If you get that, you should never miss that. Okay, so that is like easy questions. So father of he started civil services, but not Indians, obviously, right? So and not through any examination or recruitment process. So he started civil service. That's the most important point that you need to see. And then it was not through any competitive exam. It's not through any Indians. That you will see later. 1833 Charter Act. There was a provision in 1833 Charter Act that no discrimination should be made in the recruitment of civil services on the basis of sex, color, creed, place of birth, etc. After that only, theoretically Indians can enter, but practically we'll see the different scenario. Okay, guys. So here civil services started. So he's known as the father of Indian civil service. And then second provision that we can discuss is related to police reforms. Till then, zamindars were enjoying the power of police. Okay, so now organized setup is there. Police officials were appointed. Police stations were established. So police officials, police stations. So this again, you can, one more point that I want to tell you is, note it down. Police stations were appointed on the basis of area. That's a very important word. They can give you police stations were appointed, police stations were established on the basis of population. And logically, if you think, it has to be on the basis of population. As if you have not read about this, you may use your logic and you will go with it, right? Because it has to be based on population. More the area, more police and police stations required, because chances of crime is more. That's the logic. But this on the basis of area. Okay, so that has to be very clear. These are the 2 points that I need to discuss. Police stations will be headed by Daroga, the inspector, and number of police stations will be connected as a circle, which will be headed by a superintendent of police. So police reform, civil service reform. Judicial reform is very important, which is also known as Cornwallis Code. So what is Cornwallis Code, guys? It's judicial reforms. There are hierarchy of courts that you have to look into, the textbooks like the Munsif Ki Adalat for the small cases, like up to 200 rupees, something like that. And then the court of registrar, and then district court. District court is divided into Diwani courts and circuit courts. Circuit courts are for the criminal cases. Diwani courts are for the civil cases. You know what is criminal case? You know what is a civil case? And he established 4 civil courts at Dhaka. Remember this also. 4 civil courts were established at Dhaka, Patna, Calcutta, Murshidabad. Later, you will see one provision that these 4 Diwani courts has to be abolished and instead High Court to be set up. In 1833 Charter Act, you will see that the 4 Diwani courts which were established by Lord Cornwallis at Dhaka, Patna, Calcutta, Murshidabad were to be abolished and instead High Court to be set up. And later, after 1857, you will see High Court will be set up at Calcutta, Madras, Bombay, and then later 1864 in Allahabad. Like that, you will see. Universities also you will see. But these 4 Diwani courts, just remember that. Okay. And then the most important reform. Here they can ask you in prelims as well as in mains, but prelims point of view, if you see rule of law. Okay. So who introduced rule of law? It is ultimately British who introduced rule of law. If you see British rule in India, there are a lot of positives, rule of law. Otherwise, there was no such concept of rule of law. Second, equality before law. Before, it's like there was no equality. If a rich and a poor person is coming for an eyewitness statement, if you see, the judge will listen to the rich because in his opinion, he's rich because he's a trustworthy guy, right? That's how he became rich. Similarly, an upper caste and lower caste is coming, upper caste. Women and male is coming, male is coming, female and male. And one, male equal to 2 female. That is the equation at that time. That means if you need to break an eyewitness statement which is given by a male, you need 3 female, because 1 male equal to 2 female. 1 more female is required to break that statement. So let's not discuss into those points. Let's focus on this 2. What they have introduced or the changes: equality before law. That means everybody is equal before the law, whether the Governor General or anyone. But that's subjective, guys. At least you can say equality among Indians. Indian and English, there is obviously difference was there. Okay. Then again, rule of law. Rule of law is a very important concept, and in fact, these 2 are the most important pillars of our constitution also. Rule of law. Okay, what is rule of law? Ultimately, everybody have to work under certain rules. Even the Governor General also have to work under the rules. Nobody can violate the rule, and if you violate the rule, you will be punished. So there one more thing you can interpret in this way. In fact, very famous political scientist, Dicey or historian, have interpreted like this. They can ask you in polity also, what is rule of law? Rule of law means nobody shall be punished without violating the law. And you violated the law or not, it is not subjective. It has to be proved in the court of law. So there will be trial and it has to be proved. That's when someone can be found guilty. And if you find guilty, then only he will be punished. Otherwise, you cannot be punished. That's the entire principle of rule of law. So either you can take it in this way, everybody have to work within the law. Even the Governor General also have to follow the law. That means in case of us, for me, for you, for the Prime Minister, for the President, for everyone, the same law. Everybody who following the law, no problem. If you are violating the law, everybody will be treated equally and everybody will be punished equally. Right? And you can be punished only upon violating a law. And this I am discussing from the perspective of polity. Okay. And it has to be proved in an ordinary court of law. Right? Second, so that's about equality before law, you know, right? So this is a concept which they can ask you in polity also. Again, natural justice. What do you mean by natural justice? When you are punishing someone, that person has to be heard and given an adequate opportunity to represent himself, right? So nobody shall be punished unheard, and you should be giving opportunity. That's about natural justice. That is also coming under Article 21, Manega Gandhi case and all. You should be referring to that. So that's about Warren Hastings, political or judicial reform, police reform, and judicial reform and civil service reform. One more, that is Zamindari settlement. So guys, if you see Zamindari settlement, a lot of experiments I have told you they have done, and this is something which has been worked out for them. If you see, what was the problem with the quinquennial settlement? State is expecting too much, but there is no predictability. But here that's not the case. Here you are not allowing the Zamindar to fix how much to pay. The state will fix amount in the Zamindari settlement. What the state will fix? State will fix on the basis of 1790. What was the revenue will be fixed on the basis of 1790. That means it is fixed for 1794, 95, 96, 97. Though the production will increase over a period of time, obviously production will increase, right? Technologies will change, material conditions will change, the production will increase, but the peasant need to pay the same tax. In fact, it is good for peasants, right? But it was never good for peasant because of zamindars. So revenue is fixed, that's why permanent settlement, permanently settled on the basis of 1790. Okay, so who introduced it? Lord Cornwallis. Along with him, John Shaw. So two people who are responsible for this is Cornwallis and John Shaw. Where eastern part of India, that means Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, some parts of Tamil Nadu and Banaras. Remember that, just note out somewhere. Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, parts of Tamil Nadu and Banaras. This is not sociology class. It will be on Monday. Not Monday, Tuesday. I have already messaged you in the WhatsApp group. Okay. So, where we were discussing. Yeah, parts of Banaras and Tamil Nadu. It's around 19% of British India. I hope you guys know about British India. Some princely states was there. Okay, so British India means mainly Madras, Bombay. That presidency is what we are talking about. So 19% of British India. And then how much it is fixed. Who will collect it? Zamindars will collect it. From whom? From peasant. So it is fixed for the peasant. And what the zamindars will get here? Zamindars will get 1/11, right? That means 9%. How much the state will get? Rest. That means 91%, 10/11. So zamindar is actually working for this 1/11 commission that they are going to get. Revenue is fixed. You are not supposed to charge from the peasant more than what is fixed. That means if you're asked to collect 100, you should be asking collecting only 100. But they will charge more, but they will pay the same thing to the state. That is a problem and criticism that you will see consequences. So that's about the system. And then the ownership was with the zamindars. That means zamindar is the owner. If the peasant is not paying the tax, he will be evicted anytime by the peasant. So that lead to a lot of problems. If you're not able to pay tax because of crop failure, still you need to pay tax. You will be evicted and you will become landless labor. That will increase, unemployment, right, scenario, and that lead to disguised unemployment because these people also have to work in the land of others where already people are working. So disguised unemployment. So again, money lenders will come. All these are subjective. Let's not focus on that. That's mains question. We don't want to discuss that. So here, these are the facts you need to remember. Cornwallis, John Shore. And then where? Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, parts of Tamil Nadu, and Benares. What percentage will be the commission? 1/11. What percentage will be for the state? 10/11. That is objective answers. And then there is something called a sunset law. This was introduced in 1794. Under sunset law, see, if the zamindars are not able to pay the tax, sometimes zamindars also will not pay the tax, right? They will collect it, but they may not pay the tax. One second, guys. Yeah. If the zamindars are not able to pay the tax, just like the peasant may be evicted by the zamindars may be evicted by the state. Before the sunset, they will be given a deadline. And before the sunset, if the zamindars are not able to pay the tax, they will be evicted. That's what sunset law introduced in 1794. So zamindari settlement 93, sunset law 1794, that is for eviction of zamindars. Now, because of this, what will happen? Zamindars may be evicted and then some other zamindars will come. They may be traders, urban merchants, etc. So they may not be into the land. So that lead to absentee landlordism. And then they will appoint some other people to collect the tax and all these issues will come that lead to chain of intermediaries, sub-zamindars and all these issues. That's the consequence part. Okay, so I hope this is clear. These are the facts. Let's quickly discuss about Ryotwari settlement also. In case of Ryotwari settlement, if you see, there is no zamindar. Instead, the peasant will pay to the officer, which is appointed to collect the tax, and he will pay to the state. So the problem with middleman is solved now. Right? There is no exploitation from the middleman. Now, peasant is the owner here. Earlier, zamindar was the owner. So here, peasant is the owner. Now, there is a typical problem here. Since peasant is the owner, he can pledge his land to the money lender and he can borrow, and that lead to rural indebtedness, poverty, and all those issues are different. If you are reading this Deccan Rights and all, one of the reasons for Deccan Rights is money lenders came, Mahajans, Marwadis, and they snatched the lands from the local people and the outsiders became the insiders. That is in fact actually the most important reason for Deccan Rights. That is a different topic. Okay, so that is about Ryotwari settlement. That is introduced mainly in central province. So first is in eastern part. This is in central part. Central part means central provinces where, this Bombay region and the central province with capital Nagpur, that entire area, right? So it will be covering Bombay, Gujarat, that entire Maharashtra, that regions will be completely covered. So this is the biggest one. In fact, in terms of area, 51% of area. Previous one, 19%. This is 51% because it covers almost all area. Guys, remember one thing, both are operating simultaneously. It's not that after permanent settlement that is replaced with Ryotwari. Some of you have confusion. It's both are simultaneous. One at the eastern part, the other at the central part. So here who will collect? The officer will collect. So there is no middleman. Ownership is with whom? Peasant. Okay. Who introduced? John Shaw previous, Thomas Munro and Reed. This was a question. Just this one. Which year? 2017. Who introduced Ryotwari settlement? Munro and Reed. Okay. And then location I've told, area I've told, what more? Nothing, right? And then similar to this, Mahalwari settlement, where it was in the northern part. So eastern part we have done, central part we have done, central and south. Madras also covered, entire Madras is also covered in that. Okay, Madras. And it was introduced in phase. There is no need to remember the year, 1817, then 1818 in the central province, then later in different areas. Okay, Thomas Munro and Reed. Third one, Mahalwari settlement, introduced in northern part of India, like western UP, Punjab, that area. That is the rest of the area. So 19 first, then 51, balance 30% it will be covered. Who introduced Holt Mackenzie? There, instead of officer, there will be Panchayat act as the collecting agent. So if the peasant will pay to the Panchayat, will pay to the state. That is a system. So that's how it was structured. So I hope these three are clear. Okay. And guys, next important concept is related to Subsidiary Alliance. Who introduced that? It is Lord Wellesley who introduced that. But if you get a question, whose brainchild it is a French governor Dupleix when he rented his army to Hyderabad for the first time in way back 1740s. The concept of subsidiary alliance is a military help, right? What is that? If some state is facing a threat from some nearby kingdom or nearby state, he will seek a military help and you're supporting that. That's what subsidiary alliance. In return, they will feed the army or whatever it is. That maybe there may be some condition. But Wellesley used it to extend his army presence across India. So what he did, he made some changes to the policy introduced by Dupleix, and he used this to keep his army everywhere. Like in North, he will sign this treaty with all states, voluntary and involuntary. If you see in case of Mysore, Tipu never wanted to sign the treaty. So voluntarily, he never signed. In fact, he went for a war, the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, and he died in the war. And after the death of Tipu, it was signed. And this can be another question in mains. That Tipu's death in history is known as honorable death than a dishonorable pact. Come and discuss. That's an entirely different question. Let's not discuss about that. So my point here is, if the question is about who introduced, it's Dupleix, not Wellesley. Although the name is mostly associated with Wellesley, if you find two options in your choices, you have to go for Dupleix, no other way, because the brainchild is Dupleix. Wellesley has made modifications and he used it to keep his army presence across the country. How? Without spending anything from their exchequer. How he did that? He signed this treaty with many local kingdoms. And he introduced some condition. That condition is also very important. If you are signing this treaty, you cannot employ any foreigners other than English in your army. So that is one condition that they have imposed. Second is, once you sign this treaty, in case of any peace treaty or war treaty, anything, you have to inform it firstly to the British. That is also one clause. You inform is the word which is diplomatically used. That means you have to get the permission. It's like you're surrendering the sovereignty, and that's the reason why Tipu, instead of signing this, fought the war, because he don't want to surrender the sovereignty. That's why I've told you before. The death of Tipu in history is understood as an honorable death than a dishonorable pact. When you get this question, people will keep on writing about Anglo-Mysore War 1, 2, 3, etc. But that's not the reason. The question is related to this subsidiary alliance and the pact. Which pact? Subsidiary alliance related. Third one, entire expense of this army and soldiers and everything have to be taken care by the state. And there will be an English resident which will be kept in the capital of that local state who's signing the treaty. And the expense of this English resident also need to be taken care by the local state who's signing the treaty. In return, they have promised that they will protect from any external threat. They will not interfere in the internal matters. So these are the conditions which are introduced by Lord Wellesley. And they will ask you which among the following were the conditions and what are the changes which is made by Wellesley. Okay, and the states which are signed the treaty, which are the states? Awadh signed the treaty, Sindh signed the treaty, okay, Hyderabad signed the treaty, Mysore signed the treaty after the death of Tipu. So you need to know the year in which they have signed the treaty. Okay. Awadh in Sindh in 1803. I don't remember the year exactly right now. It's not with me right now. You have to refer that. Okay, I don't know the year. Anyone of you who attended the session before, if you can message me the years, I've discussed it in the class before also. Yeah, year is there. 1798 Hyderabad. 99, I've told you after the fourth Anglo-Mysore War, Mysore. And 1801, Awadh. 1803, Sindh. 1802, Peshwa. So just remember that years. They can ask you match the following chronological order. You don't want to know everything, at least the first 4 or 5 is what you need to remember. Similarly, when you discuss about doctrine of lapse also, you will see the states which were annexed under that. Few states is what you need to know, right? Important cases. They will ask you match the following. These are the questions repeatedly they used to ask before. So you can expect any time, right? They will ask you to arrange the following in a chronological order, match the following, or which among the following were the states which signed the treaty. These are the potential questions. Okay, then there is one more point. 1800, there was a college which was established, Fort William College. Okay, 1800. Fort William College was established at Calcutta. The objective of this college is basically to train the English officials. Okay, so the newly appointed civil servants in the local language. Even once you get selected, you will be allotted to a cadre, right? Suppose you are allotted to Tamil Nadu cadre or Kerala cadre. If you're not comfortable with the language, how can you do the administration? So the same is the purpose here, to train the local language, customs, culture, and everything in the local language. That is the objective of Fort William College. But this college was closed down in 1802 because of the difference of opinion between the board of control and the college management. So the first and only principal of this college was John Gilchrist. That name also you remember, John Gilchrist. I forgot to tell you the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Elijah Impey. These names are very important because these are the first. Supreme Court, I've told you, 1794 it was established. The first Chief Justice, Elijah Impey. The first principal and the only principal. Why only principal? Because the college got shut down, right? And after that, this is one of the most important railways on, right? And the first and only principal is John Gilchrist. So that's what you need to know about Subsidiary Alliance. Mains perspective, I have to discuss a lot with respect to this, but let's not get into that. Prelims, what they can ask you is what I have discussed now. So